Hi everyone and welcome to episode 284 of the Mighty Whites podcast. I'm Jack, as always joined by KC.
Yeah,
How's things, mate? Because I know you've been a bit under weather.
Yeah, it turns out COVID's still a thing.
Yeah?
Yeah. So that's been fun. Had that on my days off and then went back to work. Fun.
Yeah.
Well, I say went back to work. I've spent the week working from home because, I kind of went, even in this climate, I'm not going into the office.
But all free and clear now?
Yeah, just about. I mean, it doesn't. There's no guidelines. I've looked. So
No, there isn't with that anymore. Like, are you feeling somewhat like more than anything?
Yeah, I mean, now I have a cold. So
yeah,
it's also I hate colds because having worked in schools, I had them all the time. And now that I don't work in schools and I've had a cold for the first time in about a year, and I just sort of got to the point of thinking, God, I might never have a cold again. But here we are.
Yeah. Oh, good to know, by the way. I have just refreshed the page, and not that anyone will give a shit, nor would I expect you to. We have a newly created Twitch page, and the podcast is working. I know because with no sound, I have it on a different monitor to check if it worked. And it did work, which I'm pleased to see. Because it's just another thing that isn't YouTube. And I don't know, if they ever release FM25, maybe.
Yeah, but the reason they can't get FM25 is because the bloody women's game in it. You can't play FM25. Bloody woke.
Bloody woke nonsense.
Alleged. I'm sorry, I've read the comments at times on the FM posts, and apparently it's all the WSL's fault.
Yeah. Do you know what else is bloody woke nonsense?
0-0 draws.
Drawing 0-0 away at Bristol City.
All right, I'm going to hold my hands up here. So Saturday was the first day I really came down with this, and I got home Saturday morning and I fell asleep and missed the start of my shift. So I missed the first half.
Oh, I was unaware of this.
Yeah.
I wasn't you didn't
well.
miss loads. No, well, in that game, I mean, to be honest, I'm not going to go into it in any detail because you know them games where we like dominate, but we're not particularly brilliant creatively. So we're not creating enough with the possession we've got, but we do have sort of 65-70% of the ball. And then we'll miss a couple of big chances. Yeah, that game.
Yeah.
I think in the first half, the Dan James chance was the first half one, where he got put through and tried to clip it over and couldn't quite manage it.
Yeah.
Which was probably one of Leeds' two best chances in the game. That and Nonto got put through in the second half. And that wasn't a bad finish. He beat the keeper and it was cleared off the line. Rodon had a good chance in the first half with a header from a corner. Byram had a similar sort of header from a corner in the second half. And there's an argument that Mateo Joseph's header, having been on about 30 seconds, was a pretty good chance. But while it's a game we should definitely have won, we were definitely better side. A 0-0 draw away from home is not a disaster. And if you're wondering why I didn't talk about Bristol City's chances, it's because they didn't have any.
There was no overhead kick in there, Jack. I don't know what you're on about.
I wouldn't call that a good chance. It was a good effort. It was a good effort, but it wasn't a good chance.
Somewhat spectacular. I mean, yeah, you kind of get, like you say, you've gone through the chances there. I think there's one that ends with, is it like a Peru header that sort of bounces wide, but it's a Nonto through ball for Dan James that's just overhit, and you just think, like, that should be Nonto's bread and butter, that pass. It's Dan James in so much space in the first half, and it just...
I forgot about that one. That was a particularly poor ball.
Yeah. It's... I don't know.
Made a shocker from like the number 10 position as well, where there was a really good chance to go through, and we just weren't quite at it. And it was a disappointing game. I don't think there was anything particularly tactically that I was annoyed at. I still would have rather seen Schmidt play than Byram and give us a bit more progression on that side. But I don't think Byram played badly. Like, he played quite well. Oh, that was the other chance. Byram put in a really good cross for Bogle at the far post in the first half, but it headed into the side netting. And with it being Bogle, I didn't think of it as that good a chance because It's not one you'd expect someone to take, but he actually got there with quite a lot of time to spare, so he could set himself with a header. So it's one he'd have backed himself to do better. That was the other big chance. But yeah, like Byron played fairly well. I thought the midfield was pretty good. I thought Tanaka was good again. So there's nothing I'm mad at really in that performance. It just wasn't great, and we did that Leeds thing of missing a few chances.
Yeah, I think it's just quite disappointing off the back of how the Watford game ended up going. That we've kind of put in a performance like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I got myself really excited after Sheffield United. I was like, right, here we go. We're going to start playing now.
Yeah.
And it sort of feels more like the exception at the moment than the rule.
Yeah. Well, it carries on. It carries on Leeds as unbeaten. But there was a weird thing that they were on about, and I'm not even sure what they were trying to say on commentary. The commentator said something about like Bristol City being unbeaten, and I don't know whether he meant in this fixture, but he can't have, or in early kickoffs or what. But he said a decade, and I think what he meant was. I think what he meant was they were unbeaten in 10 games. I think is what he meant.
Are they?
Well, they've only lost 2 all season and they've drawn a shed load. And we did check that they were unbeaten in 6 minimum going into that game. Because that came up on the pod last week.
Yeah.
So they may well be... no, it's not that many. Yeah, they're now 7 unbeaten. So yeah, I have no idea what stat he was referring to. That's the other thing to mention. This is not to do with the game, but sort out your commentary position, Bristol City. And
the camera is at a shocking angle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrendous. Anytime someone plays a crossfield ball into the sun, God, it's a pain.
Yeah, there was one where obviously every time the ball went across the shadow, the sort of balance of the camera was thrown off and you couldn't see anything. And there was once where we had a shot just as that happened. And it could have gone in, it could have got blocked and they'd be on the break. And you would have had no idea what had happened whatsoever.
Oh. Right. Out of the two, it's that or the Fratton Park, the camera is just next to the dugouts and you have to deal with this now.
With modern cameras, that shouldn't be as bad. I think that the years of watching the under-21 games with the camera about forehead height means that bothers me less than the ridiculous. Like, if you're going to do it, why don't they should stick it on like a massive boom and just film it top down and I can pretend it's FM. You'd really see the shape of the game there. I mean, if I think it looks weird being that high up and I sit in these stand-up,
it's weird because it's a television camera.
Yeah.
Like you're so used to it being roughly the same wherever you go. It nigh on never changes. So clearly, if there's like 10 feet in it either way, you're just looking at, no, it's wrong, this. No,
It's all wrong.
Sort it out.
You built it all wrong.
Yeah. Ooh.
Very weird reference to the TV show Arthur
Yeah.
there. I think that the main player that came out with credit was probably Tanaka. But the bigger story, I reckon, is probably the one who came out with none, which would be Joe Peru. He was a bit of a roadblock to our attacks in this game. The legs weren't there, which we know. It's one of them, when he's on it and he takes that one chance he gets, and he probably gets himself in position to have 2 or 3 chances, his upside might well be worth the lack of pressing and stuff, but the second he isn't doing that, you're just thinking, oh, God, get Joseph on.
I mean, it's good to know that he's always got someone in his corner with John Robshaw just backing and willing him to keep working.
Yeah, my dad hates Joe Peru. He could, even when he scores, he can't stat. He isn't, it's from nothing else of, he likes a really, really hard-working striker. our running joke is just because he isn't Paul Dickov, because that's who my dad wants everyone to be. And the thing is that, like, the truth is somewhere between, because when he's off it, he does look he's just a passenger. And against Bristol City, I thought he was very off it. I don't know if he'll make a change, but I would quite like to see him do so.
Yeah, I think that's probably the one where I can see him looking at Joseph and bringing him back in. Or Pat Bamford. He's alive.
And by the way, so I'm guessing you didn't see the press conference.
Oh, no.
Patrick Bamford's injured.
For God's sake.
With that bane of the existence of Leeds United over the last year, adductor issue. There is also a doubt over Joe Gelhardt and, most crucially, Dan James.
Doubt over Joe Gelhardt playing every week.
Yeah.
That's not new.
Yeah, but yeah, Dan James has, I believe it was I think, if I remember rightly, it's a hamstring issue. Whether he's going to be fit to play, I don't know. I hope he is, because the other one to come out with no real redeeming qualities from that game was the substitute of Manor Solomon, who he looks just so far off the pace. I'm glad that I saw him play for Fulham when he had that run of form where he looked really good. Because if all I'd seen was his games at Leeds, I'd have seen him have a good debut and then be injured and be terrible back to back. While I don't know if he is our highest paid player, but rumours are that he may well be our highest paid player. And based on what you're seeing, I know that he's got more to offer, but he doesn't look like he should be anywhere near the team at the minute. And if Dan James is injured, when Ramazani is injured, he will almost certainly be starting.
Yeah. It's one of those where I do sort of feel a bit bad for him because, yeah, I don't think the plan was for him after this latest injury to be playing. Obviously, I think Ramazani had been doing really well in that position. And I think I said to you after the Sheffield United game, I thought, barring injury, there was no way I saw Solomon taking his place.
No.
And I think we are missing Ramazani. And I know it's only been a couple of games essentially, but I do think we'll miss him. I think he's just been such a... He's been a revelation. Like, I think he was very much the signing that was kind of okay, lads, you've got this right. And you've left it a bit later than I would have liked you to, but you've got this right with this one. And I think your concern now is whether you really want us to be as reliant on Solomon as we may have to be. Or do you start then looking at, right, let's moving Nonto wide and the classic Peru to 10, or, or having to shuffle it around, because at some point we're going to end up with Solomon as the only winger, aren't we?
Yeah,
and Aronson on the right, or something.
I suppose early this season he did try stuff out with Aronson on the left, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, I don't think he will do this, but if James was out, you could play Peru behind Joseph and then have Aronson and Nonto on the wings. And I don't think there's all inherently wrong with that, especially Aronson playing on the left and coming inside. I mind a lot less for this game because Firpo's back from suspension. So you're still going to get that width on the left-hand side, which I think is important. But I'd probably... I mean, if it happens, I think you do start Solomon and just say, right, earn your place. But current form, I'd be surprised if you did. For as much, Firpo is back from suspension. Byron coped fine. But now Bogle is suspended for this one. Luckily...
I am shocked by this news.
Yeah, when Firpo, Bogle and Roden were all on 4 bookings, there was that worry that they'd all pick up a 5th in the same game. At least we've managed to sort of space them out a bit, which helps. But do you just think Byron moves over to right back?
What else have we got?
Schmidt.
No, that's not it.
Yeah.
I assume that's Farker's reaction. It's just, not him. Yeah, it probably is that then, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't see him suddenly throwing Schmidt in. I mean, again, much like with the Bristol City game, and this one even more so. I suppose if you were gonna go with the much more attack, with the in theory, I have to say in theory because we haven't seen him, the more offensive option. It's why this isn't in theory the worst game to play Peru at 10 as well. When you look at the teams on paper, this should be attack versus defence, basically. I'm expecting Plymouth to, even though Rooney does try and play for some more expansive football, I don't think he will in this. I think it'll be sit back and maybe try and counter, try and get. They've got that Isaka and Sissoko and Morgan Whittaker's with sort of options out wide, and they'll all, try and do something on the break. But if you were going to do it, I suppose this would be the one to do it. But I just expect it to be Byron.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we've got to the point now where it's safe to say that Daniel Farker is a man of very few surprises.
Yeah, and seems to think defence first, which with the defensive record we've got, I'm not going to slag in and of itself. There's nothing wrong with being defence first. Sometimes it's a bit dull. If it's dull and you win 1-0, it's fine. If it's dull and it's 0-0, it's less fine. But yeah, I can't really see it being anything massively out there. But when you look at Plymouth themselves, they don't, they're certainly not striking fear into me. They've had a couple of good results. They beat Sunderland 3-2, which is a big win. Is that Sunderland's only defeat this season? I'm assuming it is. Oh no, they've lost 2. They just have only drawn 1. So that was a good win for them. But I know that Cardiff changed manager, but they got beat 5-0 away at Cardiff, and Cardiff is shit. They're really not very good. They then got beat 1-0 at Millwall. They drew 3-3 with Preston, Preston haven't been any good either, have they?
No, but Sam Greenwood scored.
Oh, did he? I didn't see the actual goal scorers.
I literally looked at that. I went, "Oh, Sam Greenwood scored. That's nice."
Was it a free kick?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I didn't care that much.
I'm going to assume yes, because he's a belting set piece taker, if nothing else. They did beat Luton, but it was Luton of a month ago where they were managing to lose to everyone. There's nothing in that looks scary. When I look at the squad, obviously Morgan Whittaker is pretty good, and he has that thing that strikes fear into Leeds fans of he has got a belting long shot on him, and we have a keeper who's allergic to them.
He's not Bailey Peacock Farrell.
No, he's not that bad. Jeez. Blokes behind a pub can score from 25 yards against Bailey Peacock Farrell. They can't score from 14 yards against him, but 25. Yeah. That Ibrahim Sissoko, he's scored a couple this season, and I'm trying to remember which game it was that I actually watched him in. Oh, it was the Luton game. That was the one that it was live on Sky, and I saw a bit of that. And Ibrahim Sissoko was really good in that game. Looked like one of them that, if he's on it, could really play. They also played Rami Al-Haj, who's a Swedish number 10, and he looked really good. But I haven't heard much in terms of rave reviews since. So I again, nothing massively to fear, other than they have got one massive, massive goal threat in middle of midfield in Adam Forshaw, who huge goal scoring threat from Adam Forshaw, as we know.
I mean, a literal bigger threat than him is Darko.
Can't play.
Is he on loan?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. He was doing well from last season and he got injured, didn't he?
I just assumed we sold him.
No, he's on loan.
Well, no, what I assumed we'd done is terminated his contract to allow him to wander over there, strictly speaking. Fair.
He has, by all accounts, been like better than he was the first. Not the like he had a bad start. He's apparently picked up a bit since then, but I also haven't heard him saying anything amazing about him. It'll probably be Ryan Hardy up front, who is like fine, but if Strauch and Rodon are playing something like, he shouldn't really trouble him too much. We've got Michael Obafemi, and he's a bit more worrying because he's got a bit more pace.
See, I thought this, and then I looked at Michael Obafemi's stats recently, and again, this very much screams of Dr. Leeds, but since joining Burnley in 2023, he scored 5.
So not many.
No. He's got 1 for them.
They also have Andre Gray, which I didn't realise, but he's only played 60 minutes in 2 sub-appearances, so I'm guessing he isn't that involved.
Yeah. They're fine. They don't even have a number 1.
Yeah, Barley Mumba has apparently been playing sort of a fair bit of left back, but inverting into the middle and playing in there to sort of. I don't know if this will happen in this game because I can't see him having more than 30% of the ball. So I think it'll more likely be. They've been playing with a back 4. It won't shock me if they switch to a back 5, which is what I think they were playing last season anyway, if I remember rightly. And if they just pick an extra defender, that gives someone like Barley Mumba a bit more chance to break. And he is good going forward and quite skillful. And he has a bit of the worry of, like we always made Kyle Walker-Peters look like Maradona.
Yeah.
Barley Mumba has the potential to do that if we're tackling badly because he likes running at people, he likes beating players.
I mean, he is one of my boys.
Yeah.
It's very much Football Manager based, but still. He kind of seems to be like between him and Morgan Whittaker were kind of the ones last season that I think came out their team with the most credit by the end of the season. Because obviously they had the really good start to the season, followed by absolutely dropping off.
Well, the drop off may have even started just before, but it was Stephen Schumacher left and went to Stoke, didn't he?
Yep.
And I can't. They got in that guy who was like an England youth coach. Was he Steven Gerrard's assistant out in Saudi? Ian Foster?
Yes. Yeah.
Ian Foster, that's his name. And it went all kinds of wrong. Because the one thing was that they were always brilliant at home, and then they couldn't even get a point at home.
Yeah.
We've got. I'm just looking like one of the defenders like Comel. One of their defenders is, and this will not be how you pronounce it. And judging by the spelling, I'm going to guess he's Hungarian. Cornel Zuks. He is Hungarian. I was right. That's a name that you don't want to have a bad game with the headline writers around. But I know nothing about him. The preview's got Daniel Grimshaw listed as being the likely goalkeeper. So I don't know if Connor Hazard has just been dropped or if he's been injured, because I always assumed he would be their first choice. But by the looks of it, Grimshaw's played 8 to Hazard's 4. Connor Hazard's always looked a decent enough keeper whenever I've watched him, so I'm surprised at that. But I can't see anything that worries me, which worries me.
I'm looking at the managerial history, as I like to do.
I don't remember any. Was it Ryan Lowe before Stephen Schumacher?
Yep, it was Ryan Lowe. I'm looking much further back than that. I'm looking at 1907, where apparently their manager was a committee.
Oh, managing
actual
management by committee.
Yeah, that seems to be what it was, and it seemed to last for about 3 years. And I'd love to see someone try that now.
Well, I think there's an argument that might have been sort of what happened to Ten Hag when they hired 2 first team managers that have managed to assist him.
Yeah, I'm gonna put. You just give me the magnet. I'll do the magnets. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the name of one of Plymouth managers that just won't come to me.
Derek Adams, Shezza, Carl Fletcher, Paul Mariner.
There he is, Paul Sturrock.
Two-time
I was
manager,
about to
Paul
say
Sturrock.
he did it for ages, but what I've forgotten by the looks of this is that he actually got sacked in 2004 and then came back in 2007. In my head, he was manager for like a decade, but he actually got sacked for 3-4 years in the middle. Yeah, that's the one whose name I was trying to remember, because that will have been when they had a couple of good players on FM that you could steal away. That's why I had them in my head. So other than we both want Joseph Peru, or at least Joseph in, it means that there is a couple of actual selection headaches. So what do you think we'll go with?
So you're thinking Melier, Byram, Roden, Strauch, Firpo, Rothwell, Tanaka. Oh, what are we saying? Dan James is touch and go.
He's touch and go, and I mean we've got.
That's also how I think his playing style should be, to be honest.
Yeah, but I wouldn't risk him if he's struggling, because we've got Millwall Wednesday and then QPR next Saturday, so it's 3 games in a week.
Do you think coming up against a team that's likely to sit deep is probably going to work a bit better for Solomon and give him a bit more of a chance to?
I don't know if it'll work.
Probably have to work less defensively.
Yeah, I don't think it'll necessarily work better for Solomon, but I think it will work more poorly for Dan James, because there won't be any space in behind.
Yeah.
So I think he will just go Nonto, Aronson, Solomon.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
But I do think he'll go with Joseph for this one. Peru's had 2 in a row now where he was poor.
Yeah, I absolutely think it should be Joseph. I'm going to say I'm 60% confident that he will pick Joseph.
Yeah. I'll go a bit higher. I'll go like 75% confident. We are still missing a couple of predictions that I'll add to the sheet later. Obviously, against Bristol City, everyone went for a win, and then we didn't. I haven't heard back from Connie or Alex yet, but Benny's gone for a 3-0 win.
A freshly scalped Benny.
Oh, yeah. If I remember, I will put that on our Twitter. Benny, who does this, he has gone smooth Benny for the start of November, and then we'll grow it all out of a month. I haven't actually seen which charity he's raising money for this year, but I assume it will be the Allergy Society, or what. I don't even know what it's called. I give it money every year when he does November, but it will be for that, which is something that I won't get into any details, but had an impact on his life personally. He lost someone due to food allergies and things like that, and people not taking care when preparing food and things like that, which was a very sad thing. So I will, if I remember, I'll stick that out on our Twitter. But yeah, Benny's gone 3-0. I think that they're going to sit back so much that there won't be many goals in this, but I still think we'll break through. So I'm going 2-0.
I'm going to go 1-0 win.
Do you think it'll be? I think this game is going to be really stodgy, especially in like the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I can see that. Like I say, I can see them kind of a lot of bodies behind the ball, and then give it to Morecambe Whittaker.
Yeah.
You've got the free roll.
If they might be so defensive that he's almost playing in the number 3 role if he's playing out wide. Although he'll probably be on the wrong side for that. Yeah, it'll be a game where it's a game where if we play well, we win. This game, it's one of them. It's got far more to do with us than it does to do with Plymouth this time. So hopefully we can actually do that. When I was glancing at their team, one thing I did think was if they do play Barley Mumba on the left, he because he likes to get forward. If there is one place we might be at counter attack, it's down that side. Because whoever they stick on the right, I don't think will get forward at all. I don't know if that'll be Joe Edwards because he has played there a bit, but he also might play midfield and he also might play centre back. Because he's I think he's their captain and stuff, but he's quite a good player, but he's getting on a bit now.
Mm.
When I see a team that I think is just going to sit back and be hard to break down, I do always think I'm always looking at Nonto to be the guy now. I think he's our best chance to break down something like that.
Yeah, you kind of hope with games like this that, again, especially when they're going to have numbers around sort of within about 30 yards of their goal, that someone like Aronson is winning possession high up.
Yeah.
And then having someone who is quick enough to react or make a decent run to sort of react to that is quite important. So, but yeah, I'm thinking we are going to be mostly kept to chances from outside the penalty area.
Yeah, which if that's the case, probably if there's a decent chance that number 2 on the list might be Joe Rothwell, because he very much fancies himself with long shots, and even though he hasn't got one for us yet, he has had a few that were really well struck. So he's probably due for one. But yeah, that will do. As obviously this one's a little bit shorter because there was sod all to talk about from that Bristol City game, really. But yeah, that will do us for episode 284. We will be back. I'm trying to remember what I'm working. Are you good either Monday or Tuesday evening?
Yeah, should be fine, one of them.
Cool. We'll do one of them with the Millwall game being Wednesday. And then, I'll stick it on Twitter and stuff. But yeah, that will do us. So I've been Jax here.
I'm in Casey.